Hello and welcome to Wisdom Workshop. We're gonna dive deep into how to get rid of the 6 main ghosts of fear. But before we start, please subscribe with all notifications turned on and like this video in order to help us continue making amazing content like this for you. Napoleon Hill, the legendary self-development writer, outlined 6 primary phobias that many people experience at some time in their lives in his book, Think and Grow Rich. It's worth noting that we don't experience any of these worries when we're freshly conceived. Only as people get older and become more receptive to our environment and the restricting ideas that others instill in us, do these worries begin to take root in our thoughts. These 6 fears mentioned in the book are as follows: the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of sickness, the fear of loss for someone, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. Most people carry these concerns with them throughout their lives, while others only face some of them on occasion. Today, with the exception of 2, which are the fear of losing someone and the fear of old age, I'll discuss the 4 other fears. They both, in my perspective, come into the category of the fear of death, albeit in different settings. The fear of poverty. Thanatophobia is the clinical term for the fear of poverty. It is characterized as an inordinate dread of poverty or bankruptcy. Many people confuse this with apophobia, which is animosity against the poor or those who lack finances. For many people, this dread emanates from their upbringing. Most of the time, persons who have risen from a poor and impoverished background are concerned about poverty. People with thanatophobia live in constant anxiety that their comfortable existence will be taken away at any time. Thanatophobia symptoms begin with imagining and indulging in the nightmare that everything will be gone. People may get obsessed with their goods and belongings. They may refuse to appreciate their money and instead focus on conserving. Stress, nervousness, vomiting, and sleeplessness can all result from this. The symptoms worsen as the person considers the worst case scenario. Hypnotherapy is the treatment that reprograms your subconscious mind and how it reacts to wealth, riches, and poverty. It changes the brain to how they were when we first entered in the earth. With this therapy, you'll no longer have unreasonable anxieties of going bankrupt. You've battled so hard to achieve this wealth, and you deserve to enjoy it without worry of losing it all one day. Talking to someone is one of the most effective methods for dealing with unreasonable anxieties. Going to counseling and talking to someone who has dealt with this before will help you see how ridiculous this anxiety is. After you've shared your concerns, you'll be pushed to change your image of poverty such that you feel entirely different about it, nearly neutral about it. Fear of diseases. Nausea is an intense dread of obtaining potentially lethal illnesses such as AIDS or tumors. This phobia, like most fears, severely destroys one's psychological health and drives them to insanity. Constantly arranging doctor's visits is a main indication of this anxiety. Even after several tests and all clears from different doctors, a person afflicted by this phobia continues to worry that something is flawed with them. This dread can show as uneasiness, panic disorder, and even depression in severe circumstances. Hypnotherapy and cognitive behavioral therapy are also effective treatments for this phobia. In addition, you might check for Neuro-Linguistic Programming or NLP. This is a programming method that blends neuroscience and language teaching. Individuals can use this to modify their thought patterns and cope with worry, frustration, and sadness caused by particular anxieties such as nausea. In essence, this therapy works by dissociating and reframing the fear, preventing unreasonable behaviors. Fear of criticism. This appears to be one of the most widespread dread. How many times have you been concerned about how others would see you or your work? This dread might drive a person to become protective and wall off to others. Even when criticism is helpful, it might seem as though one is being assaulted. Panic and fear incidents are often manifestations of this fear. This originates from the fear that others are always scrutinizing and criticizing. Insecurity is another major symptom that is concealed by arrogance and indecision. Some people may be silent and remain behind the scenes because they don't want to be judged or argue for themselves. Others, on the other hand, may be loud and arrogant in order to overpower anybody who tries to criticize them. Fear of criticism, like the fear of poverty, might have its roots in infancy. You may have some unhealed childhood scars that are manifesting as this fear. Therapy is an excellent approach to cure this. Consulting with a psychiatrist may help you go further into your scars and upbringing, eliminating any obstacles that are driving you to be afraid. With this treatment, you may determine what is causing your fear and, as a result, how to conquer it. Some psychologists may recommend that you use drugs to alleviate your fear. If your worry over this dread is severe, you may be offered stimulants, tranquilizers, or beta blockers. Fear of death. The fear of dying is referred to as thanatophobia. It is derived from the Greek words thanatos and phobia, which respectively represents death and fear. Many specialists feel that this fear is on the rise right now, since more individuals nowadays die in hospitals rather than at home. The fear of death is a difficult phobia to comprehend and even alleviate. This dread is comprised of three components. 1. The fear of one's own mortality. 2. Concern for the death of a third party, often a loved one. And 3. The fear of the process of death. People with thanatophobia have an extreme dread of death, despite the fact that we all know we will eventually die. Those afflicted are impacted to differing degrees. Some may just refuse to contemplate death or attend burials. For others, the mere notion of not living day after day causes a full-fledged nervous breakdown. Someone who has this anxiety may stop doing anything that might threaten their own or their loved ones' lives. Simple tasks like commuting or walking across the street might incapacitate someone who's afraid of death, forcing them to retreat from daily routines and submit to their worries. This fear, like many phobias, can be caused by a horrific situation. This can involve losing a loved one, particularly as a youngster, or witnessing a dead body. This fear can also be passed on from parents to their offspring. Thanatophobics are unable to see beyond their dread. Anxiety disorders and nervous breakdowns are caused by the fact that they cannot manage every aspect of their lives in order to avoid death. The symptoms may begin with the individual attempting to exert control over anything and everything. They will not participate in an act if they're aware that it has the possibility of killing them or a loved one. They will not, for example, participate in activities that necessitate intense physical contact. Going to clinics or burials causes a great deal of worry in the individual. Even thinking about these things might cause mental health problems. They may even retreat from social engagements, which may lead to despair. This is because they believe that anything can terminate their lives. They may even attempt to impose influence over their loved one's life from afar. No matter how hard you try, someone suffering with thanatophobia will not be able to rationalize their anxieties. Top treatment methods for this fear include hypnotherapy, neuro-linguistic programming, and cognitive behavioral therapy. Additionally, finding meaning in spirituality and/or religion might aid in the overcoming of thanatophobia. Asking inquiries about heaven and confronting the fear head-on is a difficult yet extremely beneficial method of conquering the phobia. In fact, confronting any form of fear full-on is the most effective approach to conquer it. Thank you very much for watching our video. If you enjoyed the video and learned a lot about the common fears that most of us have, please like the video and subscribe with all notifications turned on so that you won't miss any of our inspirational videos.